Hey, welcome to Select Arcane, and welcome to the second episode of the Trotter Model Horse Show series. In this series, we're traveling to every single NAMSA region across North America, as well as every country that hosts model horse shows across the world, to compare, contrast, and see how culture affects model horse shows. In this episode, we're sticking close to home, or at least close to home for me, because we are in Region 11, Canada. For those who may be unfamiliar, Canada is the second largest country by landmass. And NAMSA recognizes Canada as its own region, Region 11, which makes every city that holds model horse shows extremely unique. Today, the only active provinces are Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec. And unfortunately, all shows are few and far between these days. Distance plays a key factor in why there's so few shows. It can take a full 24 hours to drive across one province. And the cost of flights within Canada can be prohibitive. It's actually cheaper to fly to Europe, believe it or not. With Canada being so vast and Luck of the Irish being only just one show, it's important to get that full perspective of the country. We're going to be hearing from some long-term hobbyists in Alberta and Manitoba to get that overall perspective of how things are in the rest of the country. We're going to hear more about the West in a minute, but let's turn our attention back to Luck of the Irish. The show hall may seem familiar if you've watched my previous Luck of the Irish or Mischievous Masquerade videos. It's the same hall. It's located in Acton, Ontario, which is about an hour or so outside of Toronto, and virtually like all Canadian shows, it's held outside of the urban centre to keep costs low. Showers arrived early, pitched in, and helped set up, and then we started running the show. Alyssa Greer and her mom Michelle are the ones who host these two shows, and with that, let's hear from our show host.
My name is Alyssa Greer, and I have been hosting this show since 2018. All right, what got me into hosting model horse shows? Probably Andrea. Thank you for that. Just because she was talking about how we didn't have a lot of model horse shows around here, and I decided that people needed to have some fun, and I don't always have to show, so why not? And I host too because I decided that we needed a fall show because we didn't really have a fall show after Nina stopped hosting hers. So I decided there was a gap. Might as well stick the fall show in there. And then Luck of the Irish was kind of supposed to be around March. And it's just progressively gotten further. But it was supposed to be around St. Paddy's Day. We learned that was a bad move. So we stopped doing that. But yeah, I host too just so that we can all have some fun and we have one each season almost, other than summer because people show their own horses, but...
Luck of the Irish is an example of a pretty typical Canadian show. Ontario and Quebec use the exact same show format because we all use Lisa Sharp's original master sheet. You have your Briar halter, you have your Briar collectability, you have your Peter Stones, resins, customs, we always have China, performance, etc. Standard fare, and it's pretty normal that our show size is between 15 to 30. You can always count that you're going to start with Briar halter, Peter Stone halter, and open performance. This never changes. The only thing that may change is the double judging factor. Here in Ontario, we do something called double judging, where we judge halter and workmanship together, or halter and collectability together. This means that your horse stays on the table for both classes at the exact same time. I always considered this quite normal because it's normal for our area. But, compared to the West, they don't do this. In fact, collectability simply is not really a thing.
My name's Twyla Wehnes. I am from Calgary, and I've been in the model horse hobby since 1993. I originally started collecting when I was 8, many more years earlier than that, but been serious about it since 93. But in Canada, at least as far as I have seen so far, we don't judge so much on collectability. If we're going to do that, we usually have a collectability class that is separate. I know that's a big thing in the States, but I've never really seen us judge for collectability up here.
Speaking of judging, during this show I was judging OF Mini, specifically for breed. It was being double judged together with collectability, which is not my strong suit, so therefore Alyssa was judging that side. Horses remained on the table while they were both double judged, and rosettes were given out for each respectively. When we look at judging up here in Canada, we lean heavily into the ABCs, anatomy, biomechanics, and conformation. This also seems to hold true in Western Canada, with Verna McCausland of Southern Manitoba also leaning into the ABCs, and Jasmine Lay, also of Manitoba, who's the host of Prairie Ponies Live, utilizing the gold standard of NAMSA to keep things consistent. Every single person who I interviewed for this episode all agreed ABCs are gold standard. If you've been in the hobby long enough, you'll know that Canada has a lot of very prominent artists and collectors. And what you may not know is that most of these people live in the western part of Canada, and that's because the Canadian model horse hobby started out there.
My name is Bobbie Mosimann, Roberta Mosimann, but Bobbie's my nickname. I've been involved in the hobby since 1968. I've shown and judged in many provinces and states, mostly the western provinces of BC, Alberta, and Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. I was fortunate enough to go down to, my husband and I drove across Canada, and I went down to the Maritime Madness show that was in Nova Scotia. We've shown in Washington State, in Montana. We went down to Palm Springs for the NAN, and we also were in Portland for the NAN. I judged in Palm Springs. I judged the China division in Palm Springs. And we've been, to a lot of places.
A lot of people assume that Americans and Canadians are very much the same, but that's definitely not true. It's not so much the fact that there's a border in between us, it's more so that we also have our own regional dialects and regional cultures. And this does mean our shows are quite different.
Well, what the difference is between the American showers and the Canadian showers, they're all really great people. I haven't met anybody that's been really nasty. But the Canadians tend to collect what we love. We don't buy and collect to win. And you'll find that in the American scenes, things are very mercurial, especially resin. The resins are mainly what I'm interested in, the resins and chinas.
Hello, Sam.
Hello. How are you?
I'm well. How do you feel that when you show in Canada, how is that different than when you show in the US?
Well, in the morning we get Tim Hortons instead of Starbucks, so it starts early. It's not really different though. It's very similar to the way a smaller / mid-sized show would be in Michigan. I went to one in March that maybe had about 20 entrants that ran super similar to this. It was double judged, so that was similar. I think more the differences come more in the travel and like getting here and the logistics behind your prep for the show. Preparing to cross an international border, you've got to make sure like you've got your passport or an enhanced license or whatever you need for that. But once you actually get to the show, I don't really think there's a ton of differences, which is nice.
So you don't think there's, like, when you compare it to a small show in the US, in your experience, it seems different? Even the classes are the same?
Oh, that's a good point, actually. One of the differences, and I don't necessarily think it's a Canada thing. It might be more of this show specifically. But in the States, we do kind of 2 tiers of championships. So we do both sectional champions and overall champions. At these shows, it's just the classes and then an overall divisional champion. So there's only 1 tier of champions. So that's definitely different. But I don't know if all Canadian shows are that way or if it's just these ones.
From my experience, it is a Canada thing.
Is it? Okay.
But I mean, compared to here and the West,
Yeah.
I can't say.
Yeah.
But I have never experienced it,
Really?
except in the US.
Okay, so maybe that is a nationality difference thing.
The show that I went to down in Kalispell just seemed to be a lot more intense. Like, people were like ride or die kind of thing with their showing. They're way more relaxed about showing. We're there to have fun first and not necessarily ride or die to win. Like, we have a few people that still kind of do that, but the majority of us, like, we go to see the people, we go to have fun and look at everybody's pretty ponies, right?
I have the same sentiments as Bobbie and Twyla. American shows to me tend to be bigger, more aggressive, more competitive. Saying that, I have been to American regional shows like in Region 6 with Circle C, so I can definitely see where Sam is coming from when you're talking just about the regional shows. Now, speaking of large shows, there's nothing bigger than Breyerfest. And what better way to enhance your show string than with a workshop? The sponsor for this video is Janine Haq of Quebec Art. Janine will be holding the VIP-only Creating Kieran's workshop on the Sunday from 10:30 to 12:30 in Room C. Janine is the queen of fantasy, and her Kierans are stunning. I highly recommend that you participate in her workshop. And I know for a fact by the time this video comes out, you still have time to buy your Briarfest tickets. Thanks to Janine of Quebec Art for sponsoring this video. Alright, let's get back to it.
Hi everybody, my name is Marina. I've been showing for approximately 10 years, give or take. I have probably been to at least 6 Canadian shows, and I only show in Canada, in specifically Toronto region. I think it's very convenient as I live in Toronto, and I like the people here. I have made some friends, so it's always nice to see familiar faces.
Stereotypically, Canadians have a very relaxed, laid-back vibe. We're seen as friendly, polite, maybe even to a fault, and maybe sometimes we're a little overlooked on the world stage. But if you're coming to Canada, maybe for work, maybe for vacation, consider coming for a model horse show. We would love to have you. Canada is such a vast place, and it's so difficult to get the stories from the west and the east and the central part of the country, and it's so hard to roll that all into one video, you know? Twyla Wehnes and Bobbie Mosimann's interviews were cut sorely short in this video, and they both gave me an amazing account of hobby history in Canada, so expect that in a future video.
After the show, do you find there's a difference? Because when we do shows here, we typically all abandon ship and go our separate ways, but Americans typically go out for dinner, is that correct?
My Americans do. I can't speak for all of us, but I know typically, yes, we will often do like a group dinner after a show. Unless some people have to leave right away to drive home if they're trying to commute home and get home before a certain time, but a lot of times we go out to dinner afterwards. Yeah.
We do not.
Well, we're gonna today.
How did the show go today versus how it usually goes? It went really well. I think it went a lot faster than it normally goes. I think Briar was very efficient today, oddly. But I did find that some of my bigger classes were very small today, so I think that could be part of it. But usually we're done around this time, but it just seemed like I had a lot more like laid back time at the end to just do nothing because I was finished so early. But it was a good show. Everybody was in good spirits, so.
You can find our show links on Facebook, but I'm going to put them in the description box below so you don't miss a thing. If you're looking forward to episode 3 of the Globetrotter Model Horse Show series, subscribe to my channel. You can find me on Instagram at SelectArcane or on Facebook by the same name. As insinuated earlier, the visiting Americans joined up and went out for dinner, and the rest of the Canadians went our separate ways. Eric and I went and got Indian, and drove the 30 minutes back home. A huge shout out to Marina Richard, who took a lot of the footage in this video. And a massive thank you to Bobbie Mosimann, Twyla Wehnes, Sam Thompson of Collecting with Sam, Janine Haq, Jasmine Lay, Verna McCausland, and of course the biggest of shoutouts to Alyssa and Michelle Greer, who hosted this show. The next Canadian show that I'm aware of is going to be in Enola, Manitoba, outside of Winnipeg. Prairie Ponies Live will be June 7th and 8th. I'll link all that below as well. And just before I let you go, Alyssa has some information about Mischievous Masquerade Live 2025.
Mischievous Masquerade Live will probably be either end of October or beginning of November. If that's the case, it's going to be before the Royal. Hope we didn't hear that. But it should be before the Royal. I'm hoping to actually have it in October this year. Yeah, this year. Because we did it in like mid-November last year. I think it was after the Royal. And it just felt like that was starting to get into when the snow flew. So yeah, I hope it'll be fun, and then we'll actually have it around Halloween time. So